It's podcast day. It's podcast day. Hello, friends. Thank you for being here. Welcome to the heyBrownBerry Knitting Podcast. My name is Mars. I am also known as heyBrownBerry on the interwebs, and I welcome you to my channel. This is primarily a making podcast. It's clearly not a hairstyle advice podcast. Messy hair, don't care. If you're returning, thank you so much for coming back to check out this podcast. And if you're new, thanks for being here. I hope you enjoy what you see. Many of you, like me, are podcast fans, and you've probably seen many of your favorite podcasters talking about the Edinburgh Yarn Festival, which took place just last weekend. And I was fortunate enough to attend this year in Edinburgh, Scotland. If you are a podcast viewer, you've also by now seen quite a few Edinburgh Yarn Festival focused podcast episodes. Thank you to all the people who recorded that experience. Even though I was fortunate to be there, I have really enjoyed kicking back with a cup of coffee, jet lag, and watching some of the folks I love talk about what it meant to them to be part of EYF. This particular podcast here on my channel will not be, I would say, maybe not the typical festival reminiscent podcast. I will do some of that looking back at the festival, but for today's episode, I wanted to share with you a highlight of the experience for me, which was meeting one of my knitting heroes, Woolly Wormhead, the hat designer. Woolly kindly agreed many months ago that we could get together during the festival and have a sit down and a chat. I hesitate now, having done it, to even call it an interview because meeting her was more wonderful than I expected. If you've watched my podcast before, you know that I am a huge fan. I've made many of Woolly's hat patterns and continue to do so. But you never know what it's going to be like when you meet someone in person for the first time. Even though you expect it to be good, you just love it when it turns out to be great. And it was great. We met up during a bit of a slower time in terms of the marketplace. So Woolly had finished teaching her classes, and I had done some shopping already a couple of days before. So we were able to get together in the podcast lounge to spend some time chatting. I want to share that discussion with you coming up next. I hope you enjoy it. I will see you on the other side. There we go. We're testing the audio for our chat with Woolly. Hello. Hello. This might go in the bloopers.
That's okay.
That's good. Okay, we're starting.
Hi.
Hello. Welcome to the heyBrownBerry podcast. As promised, my special guest is Woolly Wormhead.
Hi.
I won't tell them your real name.
Thank
as far
you.
as you're concerned, this is
Woolly.
Woolly Wormhead. Woolly and I are at Edinburgh Yarn Festival 2018. But actually we've been planning to have a sit down and chat for a few months.
We have.
And we've known each other virtually, I'll say, for about 3 years or more. More than that.
I can remember when you first started knitting my patterns.
That's right, 5 or 6 years at least.
Yeah.
I am a super fan. If you have watched this podcast before, you've heard me say Woolly's name enough times that we could make a drinking game out of it, I think. No, someone would get in trouble. I am a fan of Woolly's because her hats go beyond traditional construction. They sort of defy all of the things that we think about hats and how hats are knit. We've got bottom up, top down, and sideways.
There's a few diagonal as well, I think.
And diagonal.
I think so.
So Woolly is, to us, the hat architect. Those of us who love your patterns think of you that way.
Is that all right as a
That
nickname?
works.
you think?
I like hat architect. That
Yeah.
works. It works.
And that comes from some of your background too, doesn't it?
It does, absolutely. I've got an engineering background, a fine art background, and education, so they all kind of like marry really nicely together. Yep.
That's a
They do.
perfect combo.
Mhm.
So, speaking of education, Woolly was teaching classes this week. Tell us about a couple of the classes you taught.
This week I've been focusing loads on things related to sideways knitting and hats, funnily enough.
Sideways knitting and hats.
Yes.
Ties into what I'm wearing here. This pattern is called Abalone, and if you'll notice, I've got
2 stripes.
some vertical striping.
Fantastic.
We call them sideways hats because you actually knit them back and forth and do some clever seaming and some clever short rows to make the shape. So in your classes, did you have a lot of people who had already had some kind of experience with that?
Yes, I did have.
Oh, that's good.
Yes,
That's
I did.
good.
I mean, this time round, last year I was doing a lot of classes on the actual sideways hats themselves.
Yep.
This year we did quite a bit on grafting. So that's one of my favourite subjects. I love it.
You've got a lot of tutorials on grafting.
I
now,
have.
too.
There's going to be more.
Oh.
There's going to be more. So yes.
That's
so there's,
good.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
maybe if someone attended your class last year just learning for the first time how a sideways hat is constructed, now this is like level 2 for that person.
Absolutely, yeah. You go ahead and graft it, but then you realise that you can take it further.
Yeah.
And think about what you're grafting a little bit more, and get into sort of like the engineering of your stitches.
Yes.
Yes.
So those of you who are familiar with things like short rows and grafting and others, you'll know that even if you're knitting something other than a hat, those skills can be
Applicable
used.
anywhere, of course they can.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is that
They're
why
great
you-
skills to have? Yes.
Is that why you thought about making sort of separate tutorials just to show you how to do a good graft or a good short row
Yes,
technique?
I think those are important skills to have.
Yeah.
I really, really do.
I
They're
agree.
also good support beyond what's already in the pattern, because I already put like quite a few illustrated tutorials in the
Oh,
pattern,
yeah.
but I want to be able to extend that.
I love that. The reason that I fell in love with Woolly's patterns is because once you've done one, they're very easily repeatable. Woolly spends a lot of time in her designs helping you through. So then once you finish and you've got the finished product, you do feel like you have more skills.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
I love
feedback
that.
I get a lot, that people every time they knit one of my patterns learn something new.
Yeah, and I think that that's a gift to us because it expands your knitting
Knitting knowledge.
skills.
Yes, yeah.
Well, that's good.
That's one of the things I like to do. I like to kind of get a bit of education in there.
Yeah. So teaching, being in front of students, is that fairly new for you?
No,
Yeah,
no. I
doing that a
used
long time.
I used to teach art and textiles full time in
Right.
schools for 11 to 19-year-olds.
Right.
So yeah, I used to teach
11
a
to
lot.
19.
All girls.
Remember when you were 11 to 19? Oh man, you're patient.
all girls school in London.
And she's
So-
still very sane.
I
Wow.
wasn't for a while.
Yeah, yeah. So you can take that and translate, at least being in front of a crowd,
Absolutely.
mixed skill levels.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And everybody wants something different out of it. What's really nice is that people want to be in the class.
Yeah.
That's the really nice thing about teaching knitting skills and coming to places like this, is that people want to be here.
That does make a difference.
And I think I've had some large classes here, and I'm totally okay with that, because when you've had 30 teenage girls in your class all trying to play with powder paints and stuff, you know.
What can't
this
you
is-
handle?
Exactly. So it's great because I can give more to more people.
I love
which is
that.
It.
I
Yeah,
love that.
Which is
I
fantastic.
find this festival is a global one too.
Yeah.
So one of the things I find infinitely interesting about you is you live sort of a non-traditional lifestyle. You live in a sculpture park
We do.
called, don't let me mispronounce it, what's it called?
Mutonia.
Mutonia.
Yep. Yep.
In a lovely caravan with some beautiful
We live in a
gardens.
double-decker bus.
I love it.
Double-decker
So-
bus, a big 4-meter 42 silver double-decker bus.
And your studio is in there.
No studios in a bulletproof trailer. I have a bulletproof studio.
I have studio envy. That's really, it's so original, but getting to know you, it's very you.
Yes.
You know, why stick with what's always been done?
Yes,
That's sort of
exactly.
what I get
go,
from that.
Yeah, go and do something different.
I love
Exactly.
it. And like me,
exactly.
you love to travel.
Oh yes.
Yeah. And recently you were in India.
We were.
Highlights from India. What
Highlights
just
from India.
took your breath away from
Jaipur.
Ah, yeah.
Jaipur is just amazing. I
Colours.
loved the colours, the patterns. It was just everything you think India's going to be.
Yeah.
And
you were able to soak it all in, right? You were there
we
for
were
a while.
we were there for a month, and so I was just in eternal sponge mode.
I
Just
love it.
everywhere we went was just like soak it all up.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was just so much pattern
How
and
was the
colour.
food?
Lovely.
I'm a big foodie.
Yeah, it was beautiful food.
Yeah, they're so
beautiful.
attentive to
Yeah.
seasonings and combinations,
Yes,
and
it was beautiful.
it's pleasure for the
Yeah,
tongue.
absolutely.
I'm West Indian, and the odd thing is that West Indian people and East Indian people eat very many similar things.
Yep.
But it's just the combination of spices that are
Yes,
different.
Yes.
And it's like a whole different dish.
It is, yeah, completely. Yeah.
So they, we have curry chicken.
yeah.
They have chicken curry.
Yeah.
And they taste completely different. I love
Yeah.
them both. though.
Yeah. Yeah.
I loved your pictures and the way you shared it with us.
Mm-hmm.
Your enjoyment of the place came through your pictures
And
your
showing you
words.
how I see the things.
Yeah.
The architecture and the line and the light and
Yes.
yes.
So Woolly has a way of stopping. You know how you say stop and smell the roses, but you stop and see the circles, and you stop and find the patterns.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so at Woolly Wormhead on Instagram, there are often beautiful pictures of just a moment in time or a small space, but with some rich texture, dimensional design.
Yes.
Is
like
that
the
something that
textured
jumps
surface.
out at you?
Yeah, it's just how I see things. Yeah.
Love that.
That's just how I see things. Yeah.
Love it. So we have been collaborators on a special project. It's very special to me. It's called the WoollyDozen.
Yes.
3 years ago, as I said, I'm a super fan. So I own a lot of Woolly Wormhead hats and still
She does.
wanted
She
more.
does.
I could knit them just to knit them, but I actually love wearing them. I love gifting them. So I had said, hey Woolly, I'm thinking I'm going to challenge myself this year to knit one hat per month.
You did?
I think a dozen hats in the year is completely doable.
Absolutely. Yeah. They're
And I
small
wondered,
projects.
would
Yeah.
it be okay if I ask your other Woolly Wormhead fans if they want to join me? And you said right off.
And they do.
And they did want to.
And you're amazing because you keep it going. You're such a power there.
I'm
You do.
addicted is the problem. No, I am feeding off of the energy, your energy, and the energy of the people who said, oh, that's a cool idea, let's do it.
And then loads of people do it, and then it's fantastic.
Our second annual WoollyDozen was a year-long make-along where you were encouraged, not pushed, but encouraged
at your own pace.
to make 12 hats. Probably most people did 12 different hats. And the idea was each month we pull a prize. Woolly generously donates a prize from those who have finished a hat so far. Last year, there were 430 plus hats knit just within that
Just within
group.
that, that's it. And that's for the people that are making sure they tag their projects.
That's true.
There's a lot of people knitting
Yeah.
along that forget to tag their projects.
true.
They're still there joining in.
I love it. I'm very strict only for pattern prize drawing, that they have a Ravelry page and a
Yep.
photo.
Yeah.
Selfishly, it's just because I want to see them.
them.
But the folks in that group are so encouraging.
They are a really friendly bunch,
I'm
aren't
so
they?
happy.
Yeah.
We
they're-
decided after the first year, shall we have another go? Shall
Yeah.
we give another go?
Yeah.
And at that time, what did you think? Did you think
Yeah.
this is something we should keep going with?
Yeah,
right?
absolutely. Absolutely.
So what have you noticed since having that small sort of subset? What have you noticed in people's pattern choices and things like that?
It's doing the WoollyDozen has actually helped everybody kind of like, it's pushed them along a bit. People are knitting more hats.
Yeah.
It's been fantastic because there's like, people really love knitting along together.
They do.
They do, absolutely.
Yeah.
And to have a target like that, I've noticed that like when I release a collection of patterns that maybe 4 or 5 patterns, people want to knit them all.
They do.
There's a nice little way of doing it. It's kind of collect them all together and do it that way, and it's brilliant. People are, and they're sharing more.
Yes, that's the part I love.
It's fantastic, and they're
It's a
sharing them.
cycle.
Yes.
We watch someone pick the first pattern in one of your collections.
Yep.
We'll say, oh, that's beautiful. And then someone else will pick another one, and
Yep.
it starts to build from there.
Yeah.
I love your collections because they're usually themed
Yeah.
and they're cohesive. So you feel like I could knit one or I could
And
knit
with
five.
Yes.
And it's an accomplishment if you
Yeah,
knit them all too.
exactly. Yes.
What's been your most popular collection?
Oh, without a doubt,
recently?
Elemental. Without a doubt. That's just it's.
So
And this
you've
sideways.
seen that, yeah, we have seen where your fans will gladly knit many of one hat.
Yep. Yep.
Quynn. Quynn comes to
Quynn
mind.
is just the one that everybody knits multiples of. It is. It's amazing. It's just amazing.
I think there must be thousands of Quynn hats by now.
There are, yeah.
But Elemental as a collection, tell me about the theme behind that one.
There are two themes. There's the naming and the colourwork theme, which
Yes.
is based on Airbender, Avatar: The Last Airbender, and they're based about the elements themselves.
Yeah.
So obviously that's the program's linked into that anyway. Turning around here slightly, you come
That's
back.
all right. Still here.
So that's what they are. So there's one that's for water, there's one for air, there's fire, and then there's earth, and there's one that's the balance, which is the mixture of all of them. It was really, really interesting to sort of try and capture not just a colourwork pattern that matches it, but actually in the fluidity of
Yes,
the
of the
fabric
stitches in the
to
fabric.
try to actually get the movement,
Yes.
the character of it. Air was particularly hard to do.
Oh, yeah.
That was a really
what
hard
was
one.
challenging?
Because visually, how do you represent air? Yeah, that was quite a tough
You
one
see,
to work with.
I'm already such a fan that I think if anyone is going to be able to represent air in a hat, it's you. In stitches, you show air on a fabric.
Yeah.
But that one was challenging for you.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
But I think it worked really, really well.
Oh, yes. So it's been talked about a lot on Instagram.
Elementals, yes, there's a lot of hats been. Everybody loves Toph.
Yes,
Everybody
that
loves
was the favorite out the gate.
It was, yes,
And probably
it was.
still the
I think it will be. It sells so well, and so many in it, and no matter what combination of yarns people put together,
Yeah, right.
it works. It works.
Right.
I mean,
Go ahead.
Yeah, this is the other kind of the theme behind the patterns. Is they're all sideways.
Yeah.
They're all short rows, and they're all short row colourwork. So you're using a 3D technique to create a 2D pattern and to actually manipulate the fabric to create the colour. It's completely different to doing stranded colourwork or intarsia because it's actually the construction that actually makes the fabric go one way or the colour go that way. And you see it when you look at them up close.
Yes.
You can actually see how the stitches travel and twist and form.
Which is
So this-
beautiful because I've noticed color work, color play, color blocking is really trending now. Have you seen that
Yeah,
too?
there's a lot. There's a lot.
So for
It's-
those though that don't feel they want to take on, or maybe it's not their style to wear, say, a colorwork yoke sweater or something like that, I see this as another avenue.
Of course, and because you can go to town with a hat.
Sure.
Colour choices that you wouldn't put into a garment, you can stick them on a hat.
I agree.
So you can really go with something kind of, I don't know, the colours for Toph, that really wonderful deep rust.
They're rich.
And that deep turquoisey green.
Yeah.
Would you put them together in such a bold pattern on a jumper? Possibly not, but on a
No.
hat, of course you can.
Smaller real estate
Yeah.
and a very intense impact,
Yeah.
but still very wearable.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
congratulations, by the
Thank
way,
you.
on the success of that. I'm so excited. What's coming next?
Some more sideways knit hats.
Good.
Maybe some more short row.
And we're back. So
We didn't go anywhere.
No. So as we're wrapping up, I think Elementals is going to set the stage for more people to want to see those new sideways hats and new colorwork techniques.
People are loving the technique, and I really
Yeah.
want to run with it because it's so much potential. I mean, one of the
love it.
classes I've taught here this week has been an introduction to short row colourwork, and there's a thirst for it. So I'm want to run with it. I'm enjoying it. I'm loving it.
So keep a lookout on Instagram for the hashtag WoollyDozen 2018. Sideways Hats has its own hashtag as
Woolly
well.
Wormhead does as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Check those hashtags because they're inspiring.
Yeah.
I mean,
There's loads
hats
of
make
that.
such great gifts.
They do.
They make great scrappy projects for your leftovers. So
They-
there's lots of
They're
people
great
who
education patterns
yeah,
as well.
there's lots of people who have a fear of maybe even trying a technique.
Yep.
And it's a
It's so
small
good.
enough project.
And of course, when you come to events like this,
yeah.
how many one skeins do you go home with? How many single skeins do you just fall in love with and just put in your
So
bag and you go home and then
true.
you get home and just like, what do I make with that? You make a hat.
A hat, a Woolly Wormhead hat. The WoollyDozen continues in the Ravelry group, and you are still welcome to join us.
Please do, yes.
Yeah,
please
it runs
do.
all year.
Yep.
You're welcome anytime. Come and check it out. Thank you so much for chatting.
Oh, you're
with
welcome.
me.
Thank you for having me.
I hope to see you again.
It's really, really good to finally meet you.
Is it all right if I just follow you around the globe? We'll just, from India next time we'll broadcast. Thank you.
Thanks
You're
a lot.
love.
Okay, bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
So much fun. What you don't see in that short clip is Woolly is such a trooper. We had some technical difficulties, I'm not gonna lie. There were a couple of moments where I wasn't sure if the interview was going to go off as planned. Battery issues and sound and everything else. And she just took it all in stride. She was very patient. We had some good laughs. That was my favorite part, was how easy it was to sit and chat and laugh with her. Thank you, Woolly. Thank you, thank you. Thank you for all that you do for our community with your beautiful designs. I know it's made a huge connection, a global connection for me. And thank you for spending some time with me after what was a busy few days for you. As Woolly and I said during our chat, we would love to have you join the WoollyDozen Make-Along. We are still cranking along, making hats this year right through to the end of December. And you can jump in on that anytime by going over to the Woolly Wormhead Ravelry group. You'll find a very encouraging, supportive group there. Whether it's your first Woolly pattern or your 50th, we're having a lot of fun discussing Woolly's designs and sending more of her genius out into the world. I hope you enjoyed that snippet of my Edinburgh Yarn Festival experience. I hope to show you some more of the city and some more makers that I ran into while I was there, and I'll do that in my next episode. In order to be notified when that comes out, feel free to subscribe below. And if you like what you see here, give it a thumbs up. I'd appreciate it. Thank you so much for joining me once again. I look forward to seeing you very soon. Bye for now.